You're listening to 15 Minutes, where we feature community leaders sharing what the rest of us should know but likely don't. Hi, Chad Franzen here, one of the hosts of Share Your Voice, where we talk with top-notch law firms and lawyers about what it takes to grow a successful law practice. This episode is brought to you by Gladiator Law Marketing, delivering tailor-made services to help you accomplish your objectives and maximize your growth potential. To have a successful marketing campaign and make sure you're getting the best ROI, your firm needs to have a better website and better content. Gladiator Law Marketing uses artificial intelligence, machine learning, and decades of experience to outperform the competition. To learn more, go to gladiatorlawmarketing.com, where you can schedule a free marketing consultation. My guest today is Chris Wehrman, partner at Katz, Goldstein Warren, specializing exclusively in family law since 2014 after representing medical professionals and businesses in negligence cases. He employs a team approach, advocating for and educating clients throughout litigation. With Divorce Mediation Skills Training from Northwestern University, Chris resolves issues outside of court when feasible. As a former Big Ten athlete and Olympic trials qualifier, he brings discipline and resilience to his legal practice. Beyond law, he's deeply involved in running, serving as president of the Chicago Area Runners Association and coaching endurance running. Based in Chicago, Chris holds memberships in several bar associations and earned his degrees from Michigan State University. Chris, great to have you today. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much, Chad.
Hey, tell me, how and when did you know you wanted to become an attorney?
I knew I wanted to be an attorney when I was 10 years old. I had my first job mowing lawns in the neighborhood, and one of my clients was a lawyer, and he was always dressed well. He always felt and seemed very professional, and I looked up to him in part because he gave me my first job mowing lawns, and decided that that's somebody that I wanted to emulate, and that started my journey.
Wow, that's so you never changed your mind after that experience at 10.
I did not. It was from 10 through law school. It was full speed ahead. I've never wavered in that desire. Sometimes, perhaps now that I'm practicing, I wonder what else could have been. But generally speaking, I'm pleased with where I'm at and what I'm doing, and have no regrets.
So kind of take us through your professional journey after receiving your law degree and working your way up to the firm you're at now.
Yeah, I took an interesting journey because I went to Michigan State for undergrad and for law school. And I was a Big Ten athlete there. So I continued my law school education and continued to train with my team and my coach. And then moved to Chicago, which is where my wife was attending law school, and did not have a lot of contact. So that was an interesting transition. But I was able to get a job in the insurance defendant industry, with the belief that the best way to practice law was to be in front of juries, and that was something that I had looked forward to. But after the economic downturn in 2007, and reevaluating my career and trying to decide if things don't go well, what do I need to do to support myself and my family, I decided to transition into family law. And after doing some pro bono work, transitioned into a firm that had a family law practice, started doing family law. I never looked back.
How did it go doing athletics, Division I athletics and law school at the same time?
Because I had been in athletics in high school and college, that transition to law school was not difficult. Was very disciplined in my training, and therefore had to be very disciplined in my education, and was very focused on achieving goals of whether it was the Olympic trials in running, or of course passing the bar and getting a job in law, as just part of what I had to do on an everyday basis. So doing both now is pretty amazing as I look back. But at the time, there was no other option. I mean, that's just what I had to do.
Yeah, wow, incredible. So how has kind of your background as an athlete influenced your professional approach or your approach to legal practice?
Well, in a couple of ways. First, I'm very competitive. And so I don't like to lose in court. I don't like to lose in my personal life. But at the same time, I recognize that it's not all win or lose, and you have to appreciate the steps as part of the journey. Perhaps, for example, in court, there may be an issue that I don't win, and it's frustrating, but not winning one particular issue may lead to other opportunities later on. As an athlete, I played basketball, didn't make the basketball team, so I started running in high school and ended up becoming a collegiate athlete. Never expected it. Similarly, in the practice of law, if you're not going to win every single battle, and losing some battles may still lead to winning the war, and ultimately, that's what the goal is. So just that ability to be creative and flexible, and recognizing that not achieving one particular goal is not the end of a case has been very helpful as I relate athletics to the practice of law.
Did you know you were, I guess, do you have to be fast to be a good distance runner? Did you know you had that skill when you were trying out for the basketball team?
I had no idea. I didn't enjoy running. I think, like most athletes that are participating in athletics, when you are, unless you're a runner, running was the punishment for not listening to your coach, not doing what you're supposed to be doing. And then I joined a sport that I didn't expect I would enjoy so much. But a lot of it was the competition. And one of the things I liked about running, which translates to law, is that I had the ability to affect the outcome. If I chose to train hard and follow my coach and communicate with my coach and come up with a strategy, then that would increase the likelihood of a good outcome. That's no different in law, especially when I'm working with my clients. If we work together, we communicate, we strategize. Sometimes the strategies work great, sometimes they don't. But if we're working cooperatively and collectively, then we can together affect an outcome, or at least try to maximize the outcome. So those two really work hand in hand.
So having focused exclusively on family law for about a decade now, what do you enjoy most about that?
I it sounds a little bit cliche, but I really do like helping people. It's a very difficult time in people's lives. Usually, you have good people going through probably the hardest time of their life, dealing with financial issues and parenting issues, uncertainty about the future, perhaps dealing with allegations that may or may not be true, and trying to navigate the legal system can be very scary. And I really do enjoy trying to help people come out on the other end in a better place, personally, professionally, as a parent or as a spouse or as a child, in whatever way it is that they're coming out of this, really trying to maximize the outcome for them so that they can then move forward with their life.
Are there any misconceptions or maybe things that people are naive to when it comes to family law when they first kind of get, for lack of a better word, involved in having to be involved in it?
Yes, a lot of clients, and I think this is true probably for lots of different practices, is they think that if they don't participate, that bad things won't necessarily happen to them. And a lot of it is just the lack of experience and education that they have with the legal process. And they hope that the judges will just let things slide if they don't participate. But really, it is important to participate, and it is important to have an advisor, a legal advisor, that can help clients through the process. Uh, and our roles can be different. Our roles could be as a litigator, being in court. Our roles could be behind the scenes and providing some advice. But it can be a very complicated situation in both the financial and parenting issues. And if you don't have somebody that you can rely on that knows the system, then it can cause significant detrimental outcomes for you in the future.
Are there kind of particular strategies that you utilize for resolving issues outside of litigation?
Yeah, and that's one of the things that is different and that I really like about family law is there's not one way to do it. In my prior practice, someone would get hurt, they would file a complaint, there would be written discovery, oral discovery, expert discovery, then you prepare for trial. In family law, there is no one right way to do it. I've had cases where the parties have come to an agreement and one of them have hired me to prepare their agreements and present it to the court. I've had cases where before anything was filed, we were able to settle the whole case with other attorneys. We've had cases where we've had to file a case and it's been very litigious. And then we were able to settle it. We've had cases, of course, that have gone all the way to trial. So there's not just one way to do it. And I think it's very important for clients to understand and communicate with their attorneys to come up with what the best solution might be for them, depending on their own dynamics financially and the dynamic that they have with their spouse.
I've spoken to other family attorneys who they consider like trial to be kind of like the last resort. Would you say that that's your kind of approach, or do you feel differently?
I think that it is important to be prepared to go to trial and to understand that that's the way that the case should usually be set up, so that you're not caught off guard, with the hope always that you're able to come to some sort of resolution. But there are just simply times when the parties do not agree for all kinds of reasons. And the only way to come to resolution is to be before the judge, present your evidence, and have a judge make a decision. That's not necessarily a bad thing. Sometimes parties' positions are so an opposite that you just need to have a judge, that's their job to make decisions. And I tell my clients that you shouldn't necessarily give in and feel like you have to settle only because the perception of going to trial is some sort of a failure. Sometimes it's necessary, but you always have to look for other avenues for resolution because they are available for most cases.
What would you say makes you an effective litigator when you do have to go to trial?
I believe that I have a very good reputation with the court staff and the judges. I have worked very hard, as have all the members of my firm, to be educated, hardworking, diligent, and most importantly, at least in the eyes of the court, honest. And if you have a win at all costs approach as an attorney, then that can affect your reputation. And if your reputation is affected in the eyes of the court, then you may or may not get some of those close calls when you're before a judge. And so I believe that I'm a very effective litigator based on the conversations I've had with judges, based on my results in court, because I fight hard for my clients, but I'm very honest when it comes to being in front of a judge.
You in terms of dealing with clients who are in, as you mentioned, probably the most difficult time of their lives, one of the most difficult times of their lives, maybe are experiencing a range of emotions, often stressed or anxious or negative or something. How do you kind of maintain a sense of transparency and honesty with them while not totally demoralizing them?
It's a challenge. It is hard, and I think that that's what separates certain attorneys from others, is being able to look a client in the eye as their attorney and say, I know you want me to say yes, that you are right, but as your lawyer and as your counselor, it is my obligation to tell you that you are either going down the wrong path, or you are taking something too personally, or you are just making some bad decisions. As lawyers, we don't want to lose clients, but I believe that by representing my clients the right way, they will send me more clients. And that's the way that I and most other attorneys build their practice, is that we get referrals from our clients. And so I would rather tell my clients what they need to hear in an appropriate way, than just be a yes man and hope that they're happy, because I think that they'll not get the outcome that they're hoping for in the long run.
Do you take the same honest approach to coaching, running, and endurance sports?
I do. I do. Because at the end of the day, we have to look ourselves in the mirror and have honest assessments. And as a coach and as a lawyer, it's important for you to be able to give that honest feedback to your clients. Otherwise, they're not going to be successful. Anybody can get partway by having everybody tell them what they want to hear. But if you really want to maximize your success, you have to have a team approach, and you have to sometimes hear that constructive criticism that will motivate us to do better, and sometimes just shift gears and do things in a way that will help us succeed.
What do you enjoy most about coaching endurance running?
I love watching my athletes uh, bask in the glory of their success. I can help my athletes get to a better place, but I can't do it for them. And when they're able to achieve goals that they set out for themselves, or even surpass the goals that they set out for themselves, the joy that they feel is something that not only I remember from when I was a younger athlete, with some success, but something that I can kind of live vicariously through them. And it's really enjoyable see people succeed.
So when you coach running, are you coaching? What's your main approach? Are you teaching them techniques of how to run faster, or are you just helping them with endurance, motivating them? What's the key to that? I was like the slowest guy on the football team, but then I did distance running and I was, pretty decent. Not an Olympic qualifier or anything, but pretty decent. What's kind of your approach?
It really depends on the athlete. I don't focus as much on form, but as motivation. And so it's a combination of trying to come up with a training schedule that works well for their background, their history, their injuries, their desire, their goals, and then motivating them to be able to follow through with it. And then, of course, as we progress, whether you are a 2 hour, 30-minute marathoner or a 6.5 hour, 7 hour marathoner in particular, or half marathoner, et cetera, is then coming up with strategies not only during the training session and training season, but also during the race itself to maximize the outcome. And that's no different really than practicing law and preparing your clients to be on the stand or talk to evaluators or otherwise just be prepared for what's next.
How do you approach mentorship and guidance for maybe junior attorneys at your law firm?
Team approach is the same way. I mean, as you can probably hear, whether it's working with clients, coaching athletes, or working with younger attorneys, that communication is very, very important. Without communication and being on an island, we don't know what we don't know, and we can't also impart our knowledge as what we do know to those that don't have it. And so that the collaborative approach is very important. Communication is key.
Has there been a particularly memorable case in your legal career so far?
Yes, there has, and I won't go into too much detail, but in this particular case, after the divorce was finalized, I ended up testifying in federal court on behalf of the government against one of the litigants. And it was a very surreal feeling to be sitting in the federal courthouse on the stand, being questioned by prosecutors and one of the litigants themselves. And it gave me an interesting perspective, not only in terms of when I'm representing people, but what it's like to then be on the other side where I'm on the witness stand and I'm talking to a judge, and being able to then use that to help my clients as they prepare for what can be a very challenging endeavor.
In terms of technology, what role do you think that plays in the future of family law practice?
Well, the pandemic has certainly changed things a lot for all attorneys. Before the pandemic started, all of our discovery, almost all of our discovery, was in paper form. Our pleadings were in paper form. I would draft something, make marks on it, have my assistant update it. We would always be in court in person. And now we have hybrid court where a lot of my court appearances are via Zoom, which is much more efficient for our clients and it keeps costs down, which is great. We do things electronically a lot more, which of course has environmental benefits. But also, I don't have an office full of paper and it's easier to communicate with clients and transfer documents back and forth. And so I think that the Zoom experience and the electronic experience for a while was expected to be short-lived. But here we are some 4 years later, and it's been adopted by many courts and by many judges. And I think it is a useful tool that benefits everybody. And I certainly hope that it continues.
I have one more question for you, but first, tell me how people can find out more about Katz, Goldstein, and Warren, and also about if they need help with endurance running. How can people find out about both of those things?
Sure. Katz, Goldstein, and Warren has a website. Our phone number also is 847-317-9500, and they can call us there. I do most of my coaching through Edge Athlete Lounge in Chicago. We have a fabulous set of coaches, not only for marathoners, but other runners, cyclists, triathletes, and swimmers. We also have a strength program, and the people there are phenomenal. I really enjoy the community, which is why I continue to participate there. So at either of those places, those websites are available for their information.
So, if somebody came to you and they were kind of plugging their way through law school and they wanted some advice, what could you tell them that they would probably not learn in law school, but could only learn based on your experience?
That is a phenomenal question. Law school, I would say, does not prepare people for the practice of law, and that reputation is so important. Oftentimes attorneys coming out of law school, especially litigators, want to show everybody how great they are and maybe a bit overly aggressive. And then it's really important to be humble, because if you are, then you can start to develop relationships very early with senior attorneys, even opposing counsels, as well as the staff at the courthouse and the judges. And as you develop those relationships and you build credibility, that will lead you much farther than simply knowing what's in a book.
Okay. One more question for you involving running. Let's say somebody is a pretty avid runner. You know that it's the way they keep they stay in shape. They go out for a nice run several times a week. What could you tell? What is there any advice you could give to them to kind of take their game to a little bit higher level?
Two things. One, cross training is very
Mm.
important. It helps obviously minimize injury because you're reducing your pounding a little bit, but also strengthening other muscles that you may not use as a runner. Certainly, as a runner, we do very literal lateral movement, for example. So balance and other things can be a bit weakened. And then the other thing is consistency. I think with anything in life, if you only do it part time, you're not going to be as successful as if you do it regularly. And that doesn't necessarily mean running every day, but really having a plan that works well for your lifestyle and your goals, and sticking to it. And that's the way that you're going to make positive progress.
Okay. Hey, Chris, it's been great to talk to you. Thanks so much for your time and all of your insights on both family law and on running. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Chad. I appreciate it as well.
So long, everybody. Thanks for listening to 15 Minutes. Be sure to subscribe, and we'll see you next time.